What does legacy mean to you? My next guest on Finding Easier is an enterprising entrepreneur who turned a long-standing tradition into an innovative opportunity. Emily Huskinson is the founder of R.W. Fine Jewelry, recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Design Spark Innovation Center in Bryan, Texas. This is Finding Easier. Welcome, everybody, to an evening conversation with Emily. I am so glad that you are here. You are an inspiration to so many people. And just the little bit that I know of your story, I've been inspired. And I wonder if we could start off talking a little bit about where the idea
came from.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've been asked that a million times.
No,
so tell us something that you haven't said before in any other interview about, how do you like that one, huh? You didn't see that one coming, did you? Now, what is it that really started you on this path to entrepreneurship?
Well, okay, so I'll start with just how I started the company. So in 2006, my oldest brother, I have two older brothers, got his Aggie ring, and I went to his ring day and saw like how big of a deal it was. So at that time, I was a sophomore in high school, and so I told my mom one day when I go to A&M and I get my Aggie ring, can I add like diamonds around it? Basically, I was asking, would she pay for it? You know, being like, hey, if I did this, would you do it? You know, if I got my Aggie ring and all that. Mm-hmm. And because I saw people wearing the rings, and I just thought, I love that, but I just want to add a little bit of extra flair for me. And so I guess it was that 2011, I got my Aggie ring, and so my mom remembered that I had said that to her. And so, you know, I looked online. Nobody offered anything like it. And so we went to a jeweler in College Station. His name was Scott Polk. Mm-hmm. He was an Aggie football letterman, class of 1984. And so I went into his store, and I didn't want to tell him why I wanted two curved diamond bands. And he owns the store, so he was just curious, and that's just how he is. So he's like, why do you want the diamond bands to be curved? I was like, I wasn't going to tell you, but I want to put them around my Aggie ring just to add a little embellishment. But I didn't tell you because you have nieces and daughters who are Aggies, and I don't want you to make it for them because I'm trying to because he's a jeweler, so I thought he would. You give him an idea, he goes and makes it for someone else. And so he was like, well, you know, maybe other people would enjoy that too. And at the time, I had a different business that I started. A custom game day dress business, which I don't think they're cool anymore, but back in the day, you would take like a t-shirt, you would take like half of a t-shirt, and then you'd pick the bottom fabric, and then you would wear like a game day dress. And I went to get some made by another company, and like none of them fit. They were really expensive, and they were just kind of basic. So I just thought, I'm gonna make my own. And so I taught myself to sew, and I learned pattern making for dresses, and I started that little business. It's called Rowdy Rags, and I made dresses for cowboys, and I made tube tops, and all these shirts I still wear to like professional or even college games. They're super cute. But anyways, I had that going at the time, and so I was just thinking to myself, like, how am I going to start another business when I already have this business? So I was a junior at A&M at this time.
Gotcha.
But I just like had this feeling from God, like just a very calming feeling to do it. So I went, filed 3 patents, and then 2 years later, they were all approved. Wow. For the business. And so basically the point is, I wasn't thinking, how can I make money? How can I start a business? I really just wanted to solve a problem for myself, and that problem was, I want diamonds on my ring. And I know it's very niche, but that's the thing that I found success in, is very niche companies and like very specific needs. Like if you want it, I bet other people would want it, type thing.
And that was kind of the feeling that you got when you went to this jeweler, was that other people might want it.
Yes.
Wow. And so you've recently gone through a rebranding,
yes,
right? And how's business going? I mean, are people see the value and they see the beauty in what you've created, right?
Business is great. So basically, we've developed so many loyal customers who had such great experiences with their ring wraps and just like the customer service that they want to come back for engagement rings and their other special milestones. And so we have like, I don't want to say super fans, but just super loyal people that know that we stand behind our work, and if something's wrong, we'll make it right. But basically nothing goes out if it's not approved by me and my team, and we're all absolute perfectionists.
And are you the lead designer, or do you have designers that help to execute your ideas, or how does that work? Is it a team effort?
So I tell the girls, like, if you have a design you want to make, create it and we'll go for it. But most of the designs right now are like things that I come up with. But like, for instance, this ring, we have a Charlie collection, so it's like a single prong situation, and Chelsea, who's here, was like, let's put it on a ring. So we did, and so anything that anyone on my team wants to make, they know they can make, and we'll, basically stand behind it. We'll do the testing and all that.
Sure, and then you take if it's one good idea, you see where else you can go with it.
Right.
Right? Wow.
Yeah, so the Charlie collection started with just bands, and now it's everything, every genre of jewelry, with like multiple options for everything. What inspires you? So I love when we come up with an idea and then people think that they want to celebrate a special milestone in their life with something that like we created. Because people work so hard for their money. So if they're spending their money on something that is from our line of things, that is incredibly meaningful and cool.
You're making a memory.
Yeah.
Or a way to touch that memory.
Absolutely.
Or wear it even.
So they'll remember that like special time in their life with that piece of jewelry.
When you were a little girl, were you drawn to jewelry and sparkly things?
Sparkly things, yes.
Yeah.
But I would, people think my family was in jewelry. No, nothing like that. My dad's in oil and gas. My mom was an interior designer. So because of my mom, I think I was drawn to pretty things and things looking a certain way. But no jewelers in the family or anything like that.
Gotcha. What has made entrepreneurship easier, and what has been the biggest challenge? You could take either part of that.
Okay. I'll start with what makes it easier. So I think outsourcing things, basically you might think of hiring something out as a cost, and it is, but really it's a great savings, because for me, I have to think of where I spend my time, and recently things have changed. I used to be down in the nitty gritty, and I still kind of am, but I have to be kind of over everything. And when my time is taken away from doing, things that somebody else could do, that if I could explain to somebody else how to do it in under 10 to 30 minutes, even an hour, I shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
Right.
So that you're focusing on the things that are unique to your skill set, talents, experiences,
exactly.
Right? And so the takeaway, I guess, because we've got entrepreneurs here that are very curious to know how you've done what you've done. And it sounds like thinking about what you can outsource and how you can put time back in your day. Because like I always say, you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. And so when you give yourself that time back, that seems like a really worthwhile investment.
100%. And I think starting out, and even now, the best, and I know all y'all know about it, but freelancer.com, awesome.
Freelancer.com.
Freelancer.com.
Excellent. Okay.
So I'll type in, recently, something I did with freelancer.com. My mom passed away 2 years ago, and so something that inspires me, my mom, making her proud, definitely that. But I wanted to take what handwriting I had of hers and turn it into a font. And so on our website, we're launching a new website sometime between tomorrow or Monday, just depending on when they can.
Is that the big announcement? Oh, okay. So you got a big announcement. That's not the big announcement.
That's not the big announcement.
I think it's kind of big, though. So what's new about the new website?
We want somebody to be able to feel like it's like an online shopping experience from the website, because most of our sales are online.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're creating that. Okay.
Yeah. Back to the
fonts
freelancer thing. So anyways, I go on there and I'm like, hey, I have like pieces of my mom's handwriting, like from baby books and things like that. Can you take all of it and turn it into a font that I can download, type anything I want and use it? So with freelancer.com, you can like get all these people from all over the world come in, and you can set your budget ahead of time, and you just get this insane talent that can do literally anything you need. And I use it all the time. So basically they created a font for me, and it'll be on our website. So all of our collections will be like in my mom's handwriting. Like the font will be, and nobody can steal that. So you talked about biggest challenges. That would be people that have literally stolen every part of my brand and like just acted like it's theirs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you mean like product designs or everything?
Everything. So like I'm like, well, they can't steal this font,
That's right.
So I'm always trying to do things to like, and I don't talk about it a lot because I just think, businesses with integrity at the end will prevail, but it's definitely a struggle that I deal with. And like, yeah, you can fight it, but it's so expensive. And as a small business, you have to decide like where you spend your money.
Well, and they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yes.
But that's not exactly theft or stealing your ideas, no, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
So
wow.
There's been a lot of like customer confusion and things like that because people think it's the same. It's not. They're made different places. Things like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, Aggie rings, wedding rings, engagement rings, necklaces. What else? What am I leaving out? What other things are part of your business?
I mean, any jewelry.
Any jewelry. Earring?
Yeah, everything. Anything you can think of. We have this one really cool necklace. So one thing that I love to do is take like personal things to use. So this started also with my mom's handwriting. I took how she wrote my name in the baby book and then turned it into a CAD with diamonds, and then it's like a name necklace. So we have people that, they lost their father and they have a note where they wrote his name or their name, and then, our designers turn it into a CAD file and then, print it out and get it casted, and then they can wear it all the time of, something special to them. So everything we try to do it with meaning and intention behind it, and incredibly high quality to where people can wear it every day, and it holds up. So most of our products, everything that we design is made in the USA and like set in, we have our own in-house jewelers, so they're set.
Oh really?
Yes.
Okay, where do you manufacture, if you don't mind me asking?
We do it all in the U.S.
In the U.S.,
we don't do
at an undisclosed location, but in the United States.
No, we don't do our casting.
Oh, okay.
Because that's very technical, and so for that, you kind of want to go to somebody where that's all they do. Because if you try to just go do casting, it can lead to a lot of porosity and things in your jewelry, which can lead to just breakage and yeah. So,
okay.
I mean, we could try to do that, but I think something like that, we just never really have problems with repairs or things like that. So because our metal doesn't have porosity, because we go to experts, but most of our castings, or the ones that we create, are done in Chicago and New York City. And all the stone setting, finishing, polishing, assembly is done in our showroom in Dallas.
Outstanding. Well, I want to ask you an impossible question. You ready?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite piece of jewelry that you're wearing right now, and why?
Ooh. Well, probably this big tennis bracelet right here. It's called the Mama's Charlie Cloud.
Oh, wow.
And my dad gave it to me and my sister-in-law's the first Christmas after my mom passed away. And we named it after her, so probably that one. And then, I mean, the ring wraps like that.
That's where it all started.
I have so much gratitude towards this little thing that, you know, only I wanted at the beginning, and kind of really created something there.
A movement.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What do you like best about running your business?
That's hard, but probably just the people that I get to meet and just being a part of people's most special moments. It's like graduation, push present, wedding day, you know, someone's sick and they need to pick me up. Like, we're a part of all those things, and that's so cool.
Wow, and you honor your family with what you're doing, and I just think that's so touching. You know, I lost my mom to cancer as well, and you know, when people are gone, all we have are the mementos and the remembrances. Those who have gone before us become a blessing as we do what you're doing. We honor their memory, and you know, I have a tremendous amount of respect for what you're doing, and we all stand on the shoulders of those who've gone before us. Whether you've lost a parent or not, we all stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before us, and we honor the traditions of what has happened before. And that is what I think is so amazing in what you're doing, because there's a story that is emerging from the story you're telling, and it's a story of family.
Exactly.
And legacy.
100%.
Yeah, and that I think is really, really powerful. In your work running the company, do you find that you are experiencing more freedom? Are you having more time given back to you so that you can innovate, or is that still a challenge? Because some of the entrepreneurs that I've interviewed here in this very spot, the flowers weren't here when I talked to them, but the other entrepreneurs, they've said, you know, there's a lot of entrepreneurship's a sexy business, right? You think it's all glitz and glamour and stuff like that, and then you get into it and you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to get to work. Do you find that you're experiencing more freedom now as you're able to outsource things and lean on your team maybe a little bit more?
Absolutely.
Is that true? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, she said, I mean, she was like, I've been trying to get you for 5 years, but because for so long in the business, I did everything. Like I started, you know, did the shipping, did the marketing, did the website, did the photography, did the invoicing, did all the payments, I mean, I was filing my own sales taxes, and I'm not a math person.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, who knows how that, you know, went, but they didn't, well, actually I did get audited a few years ago, but
Happened to me too when I was doing it myself. Yeah, accounting is not something you want to DIY.
Well, it wasn't when I was doing it myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Was it later? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I got clipped.
It was a huge, I mean, they asked for a receipt for a $7 can of paint. It was like, huh? I mean, I had it, but just gathering all of that. So yes, I have an amazing team that the thing that's best about all of them is they take initiative and because the business was so small when people came on, where it wasn't like people had to find jobs. Like everybody kind of
wore every hat or whatever needed.
And then people kind of went into their own grooves. And I can imagine, I've had really only great experience with employees, but I can imagine that would be very difficult if you were to hire people that did not take initiative and that didn't like take pride in the business and kind of act like it was their own.
So you look for, when you're hiring people, you're bringing on people that can take initiative. What else do you look for when you bring people onto the team?
Just similar values.
Okay. Can you say more about what those values are? Or?
You know, yeah.
Are they some of the values that are posted on buildings here at A&M, like selfless service and things like that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
But, you know, just with honoring the business whenever nobody's looking.
Gotcha. That's integrity, right?
Exactly. Integrity.
Doing the right thing when nobody's looking, that's integrity.
Yes.
Interesting.
And that's huge for me because we have, I mean, millions of dollars worth of inventory. Just, you have to have people around who you can trust. So I feel like I'm very good at with vibes and like reading
like
people.
Yeah, I think so. Me too, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that. I had, one time I had the chance to meet Damon John. Damon John from Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how, he has people that look at the spreadsheets and the numbers and things like that, but he was telling all these stories about how he would pull the trigger on an investment and it was always based on his gut. And I said, question from the back, Mr. John, sir, Mr. Shark, do you go with your intellect or your heart when you make business decisions? He said 100% heart, 100% my gut. And I'm curious, do you feel the same way about that?
Yes, like 1,000%. Even with ordering inventory, which I don't do that part anymore, but when I did, like before trunk shows, it's like I just knew. And then I'd have people that would be like, oh, you can't do it like that. You have to do it with numbers. And I'm like, okay, well, give me what you think we should do with numbers and let's compare it to what I think based on and they would be exactly the same. So 100, I'm not a numbers person. I'm not, and I'm having to become one, but I 1,000% run everything off of just like what I feel in my heart.
Interesting. A heart-based business.
Oh yeah.
How cool is that?
Yes.
Wow. Well, what is some of the feedback that has meant the most to you that you've received? Because your products show up at very special times: engagements, weddings, graduations, mementos from those who have passed, perhaps. What has been some of the customer feedback that's touched you the most? I
mean, there's so many crazy stories. Like one story with ring wraps that she was one of our favorite customers. Her name was Wilda Andrews, and it was like her granddaughter's ring day and her grandson's, and all of the grandkids got together and pulled together their money for ring wraps, and they had contacted me ahead of time and they were like, look, we really can't afford this. Can you give us a deal and we'll like video it and all that stuff? And I was like, of course, yeah. So I did, and like these pictures were amazing. I wish I had them, but they were like on the back of the Texas Aggie magazine and everywhere. But it was like her grandkid's ring day, and she wore her sweetheart ring, which a sweetheart ring, I'm sure everyone here knows, but it's like class of 1972 or before. So it was common for, before women could get into A&M, their husbands would get their ring and then buy they would call it a miniature ring for their wives. And so a lot of people, or men, class of 72 and before, their wives would have these sweetheart rings. And it's identical. It is an Aggie ring. It's the women's Aggie ring. Yeah. So she's like so excited for her kids or grandkids' ring day, and then they surprise her with ring wraps for her Aggie ring, and she like has these, and she's like 96 years old, has these pictures like just so excited. And she would come to our trunk shows for years after that, and then she ended up passing away probably like 3 years ago, and we took her ring and resized it, and now the granddaughter whose ring day it was, like she wears it. So we have so many special stories like that of from ring wraps customers, of just very important special moments in their life.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever run into a glass ceiling, or have you run into any difficulties being a woman entrepreneur? Any challenges there?
So I try to not go into anything with feeling like a victim. And I'm not saying that isn't a real thing, but I try to not, like, I feel like if I were to think about that and if I were to look at slights because I'm a woman, they would become more obvious to me.
Gotcha.
And I don't even care because I just don't. So yeah, obviously, like within the jewelry industry, most people that are business owners are very different from me, and they're mostly men. So, of course you deal with people not taking you seriously, but I don't really care if they don't take me seriously.
Sure.
They'll see, and I guess that's where I would say is I just don't look for that. So it doesn't, if you're looking for a yellow, or not a yellow car, but a white car, you'll see white cars.
That's right.
So I don't even like have that in my mind. I have way too many other things to do and think about than that. But I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's talk, but I don't even care or pay attention.
I think that's terrific. You know, one of the things I say to my coaching clients is I ask them a question. I go, how big is a problem when you're not thinking about it?
Great way to think about it.
And they go, well, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing. If you're not looking for white cars, I mean, where you put your attention is where you find your results.
Right.
And her attention is on finding results, not on obstacles or whatever. And I think that's great. I mean, the thing that I always, you know, I try not to take myself too seriously. And I seriously don't look at how I'm coming across, which might sound strange.
No, I completely agree. Just be yourself, and you never have to like change how you act to anybody if you're consistently the same person all the time.
That's right. And if somebody's triggered by this pocket square, you just need to work through it. Because this is, right? I mean, we got to be who we are.
Right.
And I say bravo to you for being who you are and not looking in that direction and not stepping into that victim mindset.
Yeah. And I know people really deal with stuff like that, and that is real. So I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I don't even pay attention to it.
Good for you. So tell us what's ahead. Tell us more. I mean, you've got the wireframe, the new website.
Yeah.
What else is cooking in the mind of Emily?
Well, we're expanding our team even more.
Okay.
Just trying to make the website like,
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a big undertaking.
Okay.
Working on, but that, and then I think just like a wholesale route, because a lot of jewelry stores, people don't realize this, but a lot of jewelry stores, they really just carry other people's lines. And then they just kind of market it themselves, but it's not really their stuff they created. So a lot of our stuff, like Charlie collection and a ton of our other stuff, is designs that we came up with, we created. And so I think what's next is wholesaling a lot of our most popular
pieces.
Yeah, because they're getting knocked off anyways, right?
Sure.
So why not?
Why not be paid for your hard work and your creativity?
Right.
So are you looking at, you know, like Zales got their start in Dallas? I mean, I'm wondering about some of the big names that we might know. Would they be who you'd OEM to? Or?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I like to know the people I'm working with. Like anyone I work with, I would want them to be somebody that I trusted with a handshake. And I don't know Zales, but I probably am not going to trust him with a handshake, you know. Right. So I don't think so. I think I'd only work with people that I knew and that conducted business how I conduct business.
And your distribution?
And I'm not saying Zales doesn't. I don't know about Zales, but I don't think that's...
I don't either.
Yeah.
So the primary distribution is online, though, for your products? It's 100% online?
No. We have a showroom in Dallas where we've outgrown it, so we're probably going to move.
Where are you? Are you in the design district, if you don't mind me asking? Sure. Okay.
At the World Trade Center. So
this is on the west side of Dallas. For those. Anyway, yeah.
So my mom always said, like, one day you're going to have a store in New York. And I think everything she's ever said has come true, so
wow.
We'll see.
Do you dream of New York? Do you dream of setting up a store there sometime?
Well, if I had a store in New York, there would definitely be stores other places first, but...
Yeah, I mean, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Right.
That's what the song says. But yeah, New York, why not?
Why not?
Wow, well, do you want to take some questions from the audience?
Sure.
Would you be up for that? Do you all have some questions for Emily that you would like to ask? And with the little bit of time that we have left? Yes, sir, let me come to you first.
Had a hardship along the way that really stuck with you, that you had to overcome?
Oh yeah, so 2020, my mom got sick with cancer. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm with you.
For 6 months, and I was her main caretaker. Sorry. Okay. I was getting audited, and then COVID. So, but it was crazy. Like, my girls, they took charge. Like, I didn't go to work for probably a little bit, but for 6 months. And the business doubled that year. The reason it was is because so many businesses were, unable to provide products because their products were made overseas. So because we had gold, diamonds, our own jewelers, we kept selling jewelry and other people couldn't. Like, people were willing to buy, they couldn't. So our business, you know, took off. And then there was a point of that where we weren't allowed, my mom wasn't sick yet, and I was like shipping everything out of my living room. And then I was going through that, it was like a it was like a 14-month audit. I mean, they asked for
Wow.
everything, and it was terrible, and it was the worst timing. They didn't care what you're going through on the side. So I was just having to be caretaker, business owner, all these other things. So that was hard. I think I used to get bent out of shape over certain things, and looking back, I'm like, that is just not a big deal. Like, not at all. That's probably why, going back to people who copy me, I used to get really upset. I used to let that take up my energy. And I think with my mom getting sick, I realized you only have so much energy and attention. And if you apply it to things that are not going to better you or better those around you, it's going to drain you. So I just think I just changed my perspective at that time and literally like became a new person, really, because the things that I used to get upset about or like, you know, let take my energy, I just realized that's not worth it. There's nothing I can do. I'm going to go forward and, you know, put my energy to where it really matters.
It's inspiring. Story of resilience. Wow. Powerful. Great question. Thank you for that question. Anybody else have questions for Emily? Yes.
There's so many jewelers around us. Starting out, how did you keep yourself tuned to like the market around you? There's jewelry like everywhere, you know, there's like fine jewelry and, you know, jewelry you could buy like Forever 21 or something. One, how did you find like what niche you wanted to go into, and how did you get to like, you know, like this is what I want to make and not something that's on the market that you could buy on like
Yeah.
nowadays?
Right. How did you become an original, basically?
I think, honestly, like, that any person will tell you, a lot of it has to do with luck. The fact that, like, at that point, nobody had made that yet still blows my mind. Like, all of you guys are jewelers in College Station, like, and you didn't think to make that? You know what I mean? Like, how? So I think in that way, God was like this was my thing. And that's the only, you know how when people come out with ideas, you're like, how did that not exist before? With so many things that come out all the time. And it's just, I just think it's luck and being the first person to do something. And that, I just wanted it myself, and that's kind of how it came up with it. I wasn't like, the intention was never money. It still is not money. Money comes if you know, I think stay true to yourself, have a good product that isn't so saturated. I think those things come, but it was never like a motivation or anything like that. The motivation was, I just want this thing that doesn't exist.
Well, and don't you think that you looked within instead of looking at what everybody else is doing? You looked and searched your heart for what you wanted.
I don't look at other people's stuff. Like, I'm not going to other people's Instagrams getting, like, we literally do our own thing, and all these people copy, and that's fine. They will always be behind if they're copying.
Right.
You know, like, doesn't that
That's
get
right.
boring? Don't you want to come up with your own stuff? That's kind of how I feel. But in the jewelry industry, copying is so prevalent and rampant, and so I don't even, it's another thing that I don't give my energy to. I just keep doing my thing, and it's working out.
Is jewelry an art form, or is it something more?
It definitely is an art form, and I think it's something more, because it's just, like, if you look all over the world, all people, not everyone, but a lot of people, they all kind of have things that they decorate themselves with. So I think it's like a worldwide thing that speaks to every kind of person, even if you don't really realize it, like all the stuff people have.
Right. We all have little mementos. Yes, little investments that we've made in ourselves.
Even if it's a rubber band that, you know, your grandpa wore and he's not around anymore, like, that's kind of a form of jewelry. It doesn't have to be. So I think for sure it's so much more than art. It's way more.
And investing in yourself.
Yeah.
Great question. Thank you for that. All right, buddy, but if it's a two-parter, I'm going to cut you off. No, I'm kidding. Please, what's your question?
What has entrepreneurship taught you that you've applied in your own life?
Knowing your strengths, understanding your weaknesses, and instead of like, I think there's a saying that's, make your weaknesses or work on your weaknesses. I don't even think about the weaknesses. Outsource that. Focus on only your strengths, and then find other people that help with your weaknesses. And I think you're a lot more effective and way more efficient in everything you do. And I think that's hard at the beginning because you're trying to do everything, but it really doesn't have to be that expensive to outsource things if you're kind of creative with how you find people.
I have a friend of mine who's a coach, and he said to me, what you have to do with your weaknesses is love your weaknesses. And I go, wait a minute, love your weaknesses. I hate my weaknesses. I really don't have that many of them. But I hate my weaknesses, right? He goes, no, you need to fall in love with them, which means you'll either get better at them or you will give them away and let someone else take care of them because you love it so much to have it done right or done by someone who has that capacity.
Yeah.
And I thought that was always very, very interesting because, I mean, a big part of your story is always coming back to your strengths, coming back to what it is that you do best, coming back to that inspiration, the way that life's trying to come through you, whatever those ideas are. And if you're looking in the shadows and you're looking for weaknesses or victimization or glass ceilings or whatever, you're looking in the wrong place. You were able to look inside and say, I want my ring to look a certain way. And then you brought that to life. I was in an interview one time and they go, hey, Chris, if you were going to write your autobiography, what would be the title? And I said, that's easy, Something from Nothing.
Yeah.
And and isn't that how all ideas work? Right? My story is not a superhero story. It's just how ideas work. Something from nothing. You had this idea, this inspiration, this spark. We don't know where it comes from. And many more ideas since then. It's really inspiring. I mean, seriously, it's very inspiring. Anybody else have other questions for Emily? What else you got? Did we not talk about this? What do you got, man?
So when you're finding a team of like reliable people, is it just intuition or what other things are you basing your decision on?
Social media.
Wow,
Yeah.
You look at their socials,
Oh,
huh?
yeah.
What are you looking for when you look at their socials?
The
Reels?
girls, I look for modesty.
Modesty, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And is your workforce primarily female?
Yeah. 3 guys.
3 guys, okay.
3 guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can kind of tell. Everybody's on social media these days. You can tell.
Right.
So those are my values, and that's what I care about. So, and then when you meet, like being able to carry a conversation, a lot of people are real addicted to their phones these days. So you have to be careful with that. Just being able to have a conversation in person and ask questions back, and just that back and forth dialogue. I think that like when I met, Chelsea was my first employee, and we went to some place and had a glass of wine, and we both picked the same glass of wine, which I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. That's like a sign. And we just were able, and we didn't talk about the job at all. I talked to her, I learned about her life, and I knew I didn't have to say, do you know how to, do a formula on Excel? It wasn't like that. It's like if I can feel the vibes from you that she's the type of person that'll go and, work hard and conduct herself with integrity. And that's kind of what I've done with everybody. But all of my people, I think I found through social media of just like putting something up like, hey, looking for this. So I use social media all the time to get advice and things like that. And it's crazy how helpful people can be, because I don't want to go do like a LinkedIn search. And I know that a lot of people need to do that. But for me, I've just leveraged social media. With everything that happens these days, people can get canceled for things that are back on their social media.
That's right.
So that's
right. Let me look at my Instagram right now. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. It's so true. And here's something that you're saying that strikes me as very, very executive. And it's this, that relationships matter, conversations matter. and being able to have that chat over a glass of wine where your values are expressed. Skills are important, right? And we have to develop our skills, our ability to do formulas in a spreadsheet or whatever that skill might be. But at the end of the day, it's really about relationships, particularly for entrepreneurs. And if you're looking for an investment, you've all heard it, bet on the jockey, not the horse. So when you're talking to investors, you know, they're looking at you because the skills whatever skills you don't have, you can outsource.
Yep. And, you know, now that I think about it, not one person, none of my girls that work with me, not one of them had experience like selling jewelry. We were all learning together. So it's not like you have to go out and find the most qualified person for that job. You find the person who will work, who's honest, who has integrity, they'll figure it out and you'll figure it out together. And then there's kind of like bonding because you're growing together. Because this company started when I was 21, so we were all figuring it out.
I think this is such a vital skill because and people look at challenges and they go, it's a how-to problem. I don't know how to do this. And the fact of the matter is that everybody in this room, even though I don't know you, I do know this, you all have the ability to figure things out. And we look at things and we go, oh, I don't know how to do this. And that's not true. There's all kinds of resources. If you have the initiative,
yes,
am I right?
Initiative, 100%.
And you're willing to take the journey. And that's what you're saying your team was willing to do. It wasn't necessarily about having past experience. It was about creating an experience together that turned into experience for the client's customers.
Yeah, because that can be daunting if you're trying to hire people and you feel like you have to find this perfect candidate. It's like you don't. You just have to find somebody who tries.
Yeah. And I just think relationships. It sounds you're saying relationships really matter. You got to have people that you can count on that are willing to. Because here's the thing, life. I don't know about you. I never have 2 days that are exactly the same. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every day, life is unscripted, and you got to have people who know how to improvise.
You can go with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sounds like that's what
like if somebody comes in and asks, like, what is the day-to-day, hour-to-hour? I already know we're not going to be a good fit. And I understand that some people will work for somebody like that and their boss is like that, but that's just not how I am. And I'm not a micromanager. Let people do their own thing. And like, they end up, instead of saying, hey, you do this in my way, the way I did it, it's like, no, they're the person doing it every day. I'm sure they can find a much more efficient way to do something. And they all have. They have systems that they've created that were not in place whenever I was doing it. I did it a different way, but they're the ones doing it, so they should do it the most efficient way possible for them.
Do you ever find yourself getting impatient though while people are figuring things out? Are you kind of like, let's go?
Not really.
Really? You give them the space to do that?
I don't really struggle with impatience, I don't think. I struggle with a lot
working
of
on
things,
myself.
but not that. I feel like I have a lot of patience.
That's great. Well, that gives people the freedom to discover some things.
Yes. You have to. You can't like have a job without, I mean, now they're more clear, but that isn't very clear with what you want and then be mad when it's not.
Yeah, because you got to have a sandbox. You got to have space.
It was ambiguous to start, like, so you can't be mad when somebody doesn't read your mind.
So if people are looking for a lot of structure in their jobs or their careers, they might be frustrated working with you.
It's gotten, as it's grown and matured,
more structured.
There's much more structure.
Gotcha.
I'm just saying, in the younger days, it's pretty scrappy.
What other questions come to mind? Yes, sir.
So you talk about outsourcing a lot, and I know I've seen other entrepreneurs struggle with like trying to do too much. So can you tell us at what point you decided to really start embracing outsourcing? Or do you have a story around that?
I do best, and the business does best whenever I'm thinking of the business in the future, not the business like that certain day. And so I tried to bring people on that would take care of that day and the next day. And so I could look to the future, because if you don't look to the future, you'll get left behind. So I think once I realized that my time was much more effective and efficient spent thinking about the future and the bigger picture rather than like the little minute stuff. And another thing I would kind of think about is I would be like, what does this cost me on freelancer.com? And I'd say, $40 an hour. And I would think to myself, can I make more than $40 an hour right now reaching out to a customer and selling something or designing something? So I would literally take numbers and like compare.
And stepping into your strengths.
And always having new products coming out, which we do. We literally have several product drops every week. So that's where I spend most of my time.
And stop me if I've said this before, I don't know, some of you may have heard me say this before, but like on every road there are boundaries and there are lane markers, there's guardrails, so to speak, right? But I can take that road to Corpus Christi or Canada. You know what I mean? I can go anywhere on that road. So setting it up so that there are certain guardrails, but then having the freedom to create.
Absolutely.
And that is really, I don't know, that just really stands out for me to be able to have the resources to do what you need done so that you can concentrate on creating that future. And really, I mean, what you're really describing is being the visionary.
Yes.
For the organization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's great, steering the ship.
Bullseye.
Bullseye. There you go. Well, I want to say thank you for your time and your generosity of spirit and coming down here and sharing your story and being a wonderful legacy to your mother's memory. I want to say that to you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you taking the time to talk about your journey and about what you've discovered, because there are people here in this room that need to make their own discoveries on their own paths towards finding the vision that they want to bring to life. And you've helped everybody here tonight to do that.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing. Can we have a round of applause for Emily Huskinson, please?
Hard is a habit, but it doesn't have to be. In life, business, and relationships, there's one thing we're all looking for. It's time to change the conversation and change your results, maybe even change your life. It's time for Finding Easier